ILTV Plus, your news from Israel and more 24/7. Start your free trial today. Moving on, international social media giant Facebook in hot water this month amidst whistleblower accusations of covering up damning internal reports and consistently putting its profit margins above issues of public health and safety. Israel now looking to right some of these wrongs, though, with a new team of government-appointed experts. Working under the communications minister Yoaz Hendel, the Israeli team is expected to compel Facebook to reveal its censorship policies as well as its algorithms. And most importantly, Israel may seek to hold Facebook legally liable for the content on its platform. So what does this mean for Facebook and for Israel? Legal counsel with the Israeli digital rights movement, Jonathan Klinger, joining me to discuss. Now, we know that there will be a few months in which Facebook and the task force discuss the plans, but let's assume that everything mentioned above passes. How will this affect Facebook?
So first, I have to say, knowing at least one of the members of the committee, I think that the word liability towards Facebook would be too broad. I don't think that anyone would attempt to hold Facebook legally liable for speech on its platform. What will happen is that Facebook would be more transparent towards us on the way that they treat complaints and takedowns, and they should be more transparent to the citizens on what is manipulated in order to show on your newsfeed. Because towards the government, Facebook is already totally transparent. The Israeli government has a unique side channel with Facebook to remove content whenever it wishes, and around 85% of the takedown requests are honored almost immediately. What we need to know is that we're certain that no foreign interference in our future elections would occur, and that no manipulation of our most intimate thoughts would happen through the newsfeed, like anti-vaxxers using the platform to spread misinformation. So saying this, we need to also acknowledge that Facebook is big, way too big, and it's almost like a government entity, if not even bigger. So when we want to regulate, we need to understand that we're dealing here with something that might be bigger than Israel itself, and that we have to use diplomacy in order to get the right result. That means more democracy in Israel and not more government observation and government control over Facebook.
Okay, but ostensibly, the task force's decisions will likely also affect Twitter, TikTok, and other social media channels. Would this kind of legislation be effective in truly addressing issues of hate speech, misinformation, libel, etc.? You know, Facebook already has a fact-check function, for example, that has come under fire for a number of reasons. Who will be in charge of determining whether the content is true or false or libelous or satire, etc.?
So first of all, I'm against, and I hope that this won't fall into the conclusions, any form of censorship or liability on platforms. This means that I think that if someone wrote hate speech or libel or invaded someone else's privacy through a social network, then you should address him and not the social network. This is so important because if we would hold Facebook liable to any post published on it, it would mean that there will be no free speech. It would mean that anyone who wants to post something would have to go through pre-checking and would be censored beforehand. This is a problem, and this is something we don't want to do. Now, if we want to help people who are in trouble and help them have legal help, we need to make sure that there's more transparency on the process, but that there's no liability on Facebook. The only reason that Facebook became so big and is so problematic is because it deals with more engagement. It wants you to engage more. So what happens is that it pulls up stickier posts, things that are controversial. And we need to make sure that this doesn't happen, and not that Facebook would be held liable to any post published on it.
All right, now fact-checking and the removal of dangerous content has already actually been hitting a snag with the billions of non-English posts. How could Facebook fully comply with all these measures?
So again, I'm not for fact checking by Facebook. I'm not for removal of posts. I'm just saying that we need to make sure that the algorithm, the mind behind what controls Facebook's news feed would be more transparent, because the only problem today is the way that the algorithm is designed makes people more attracted to controversial content such as fake news, anti-vax, or government issued content that is made to interfere with our democracy. If you would have had a linear feed where your mom, your dad, your family would come and have the same weight as anyone else on your feed, and you would choose how much exposure you personally want from each person, then I believe that the problems we are talking about wouldn't be so grave. And that's what should be dealt with, not the liability.